So, a very good evening to all of you. On behalf of Jaipuria Institute of Management, I, Assistant Professor Sanidhi Sachdeva, welcome you all to the webinar on transformational role of higher education. Today, we have been endowed with the opportunity to listen to the stalwarts of the industry. We have with us Mr. Prabhat Manocha, Associate Director, Government India South Asia, IBM. Mr. Manocha has over 24 years of cross-industry experience and is focusing on IBM's cognitive, cloud, IoT, and blockchain initiatives. He has been engaged in conceptualization, conceit, and delivery of complex business solutions based on multiple technologies. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the e-platform.
Hi, good evening and thank you.
Okay. We also have with us Ms. Garima Babbar. She is Head Programs Education and Skill Development, Adobe System India Private Limited. A Delhi University alumni, she has been previously associated with National Skill Development Corporation, KPMG, and Microsoft. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here amongst all of you. Thank you so much.
We have with us Mr. Vikas Agarwal, Partner Advisory Services, EY. He is a professional with more than 25 years of experience in leading and managing technology-led transformation in government, education, health, and defense verticals with clients across government and enterprise vertical. Welcome, sir.
Everyone, good evening. Thanks for inviting me over. It's a pleasure joining you today.
Okay. We have with us Ms. Gurpreet Kaur, Chief Manager, Education and Training, Sri Educare Limited, a lifelong learner by passion who wishes to bring positive transformations in the education scenario and prepare people for the fourth industrial age skill. Welcome, ma'am. I welcome you all to the e-platform. I welcome all the participants who are watching us across. May I also welcome Dr. Devendra Naran, Director, Jaipuria Institute of Management, a seasoned academic professional. Professor Naran has a rich experience of 25 years in the field of academia and management in best business and management institutes of India and abroad. Welcome, sir.
Namaskar to all of you.
I also welcome Ms. Anjali Khanna, VP HR, Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions, a people-oriented person who believes that people can make or break an organization. A firm believer of people-first approach, she brings with her over 25 years of experience in human resource management, currently works as Vice President HR with Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Sanandhi. Thank you so much for such a nice start to the program.
Okay.
It says that if you start with the good people, then things continue to be good. And this organization has a special affection for Sanandhi, and she knows that very well.
Thank you so much.
Very much. And good evening, everybody. It's a huge privilege for Jaipuria Institute of Management and Seth Anandram Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions to welcome all our participants to today's program. We are indeed hugely blessed to be able to bring such an esteemed panelist who are experts and names to record in their respective domain. Some of them I have known for many, many years. So I really feel honored that they are back again with me. I can say from my childhood itself, actually, I was taught to stay positive. So everybody all the time kept saying you should always think about positive, not about negative. This paved ways to even writing affirmations for me. And then something like Apply Secrets also happened. And this happened after I read this book called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Yeah? And I don't know how successful I was in implementing it, but yes, every time I went beyond a point on a negative tangent, at some stage I would remind myself, knock, knock, Anjali, apply secrets. So this is how I have been. And when I see the whole world in the last 3-4 months, especially, when the whole world was crying, Corona, Corona, you get up in the morning, the first thing that you see on your phone is how many new cases of Corona have emerged. You open the TV, something or the other related to what kind of disaster it is creating, how it is going to impact market, how things are going to go bad, how many people are dying, how many people getting infected. And there are those huge debates about how government could have done it differently. Modi ji ne ye nahi kiya aur isne ye nahi kiya aur usne wo nahi kiya. With all that happening, there were two industries who actually thought of doing something which was absolutely different. Now, these two industries being one, of course, the education, and the second and the most important one was the technology. These two, whether out of choice or to see growth opportunity, or by virtue of the challenges that they saw the society, the business having, diverted all their focus to running the show as smooth as possible. Teachers had their classes to manage, their courses to complete, examinations to be conducted. They took charge overnight to shift completely to online systems. Now, when I talk of completely to online systems, I can't deny the fact that the college education, many things were happening as far as online education was concerned. But when you define online education in college, it only meant that while the school teacher carried a register which had lesson plan, the college teacher had a laptop which was connected and it had a PPT which had the lesson plan in it. Nothing beyond that really. But the companies like, so teachers, so with all these crises, the IT giants like Google's, the Microsoft's, the Zoom's, the IBM's and Adobe's of the world, they opened their doors wide open to immediately come to support for the business continuity for everyone to function from home. Education, I'm sure, is the biggest customer of these technologies today, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least not the biggest, it is the newest which has actually put so many new inventions in place. At least they are encouraging you to bring about a lot of inventions. And every platform of teaching, learning is going through a complete change, which I can see. So with these challenges, I thought, let me first ask our director, Dr. Naran, to of course welcome all of you once again, and also to share his side of story of how challenged Jaipuria Institute of Management has felt during the last 3.5 months, and how they have made all the efforts and how technology has supported them in overcoming these challenges. So over to you, Naran Sahab.
A very good evening to all of you. Sadar Namaskar Sabhi ko. I, Professor Dr. Devendra Narang, Director, Jaipuria Institute of Management, welcome you all to the webinar on transformational role of technology in higher education. I warmly extend my gratitude to all the panelists for joining us today. I also welcome all the participants from the academia and the corporate on this e-platform. I extend my gratitude to Mr. Prabhat from IBM, Ms. Garima from Adobe, Mr. Vikas Agarwal from E&Y, and Ms. Gurpreet Kaur from Educare Limited for joining us today. And I know today we have more than 1,000 participants. In fact, close to 2,000 participants have registered with us. So most of them have, joined this webinar or must have seen to the other platform like Facebook also. Well, coming back to the subject matter, technological development has been a long journey which has taken 100 years of reach this pinnacle, and still it is evolving. Can you ever think that while technological advancement could have been possible without the invention of the zero? It started with zero, and then IBM transformed the word, inventing computer. Charles Renlet, the founder of the computing, tabulating recording company, which later became IBM. This was the kind of discovery which has transformed the world, like electricity, telephone, internet. On the other hand, if we talk about the Adobe and the Google, added further feather to its crown by the expanding the horizons to the infinity, from zero to present, when we are witnessing the world of artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data, and cloud computing. Adobe added creativity in his word by inventing its product like Photoshop and cloud-based solution, aligning with Acrobat Reader to make our life very easy. Just imagine, if you think, how the life will become without the Google search engines or the Google Maps, which we are using very frequently in a day and so many times. And further, there are companies like Educare who are there to give us the solution to remotest part of the world. And today our panel consists of all the panelists are which is representing these companies, and we are really elated to have them among us and show the fact that the discussion will be full of insight, and we will learn the betterment of academic from these our panelists. Well, if we talk about, there is a famous saying which is now seen everywhere on the Facebook and the Instagram. If the lives give you the lemon, enjoy lemonade. We are also doing the same. There was a technology before this pandemic, and really there was a technology and evolving very rapidly, you know. So every disaster which is coming uh, during the time, it's always give the opportunity to learn, and there is a always give the scope to create more thing. If we talk to evolve to accommodate, COVID-19 has crippled the world and brought it down its to the knees. It has shown us how vulnerable the world is, where despite being superpowers, we can't even hug or our love, our family member. But human race is like phoenix. It also rise from its ashes, and many time it will rise this time also in the COVID-19. I'm proud to be part of the sector of the education that has emerged as one of the strongest in this pandemic. Uh, Let me give the example of my institute. Uh, Within the 2 days post the lockdown, we introduced, as well as successfully took up our entire work on the online. Like all the classes we have shifted to the online. Our student also do not have any face any academic loss due to this this emergency situation. Almost all the education institute, whether it's in higher education or in the primary, secondary, or in the school level, all have ventured into the same e-platform. Well, to ensure that education is disrupted as little as possible, though we cannot say very precisely that nobody has affected, but this sector has uh, 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 taken the way out of this emergency, and they have successfully implemented the plans which do not hamper their day-to-day work. uh, like our universities, our college adopted the digital tools like online learning management system, video conferencing tools, messaging platform to make sure student can access all the course material and communicate with their teachers, faculty, and the professor. COVID-19 has truly transformed the role of technology. All the tools were present before this pandemic also, but now academic has actually relying on them to ensure a non-disrupted delivery and the learning from the student side. Education sector has become the most promising sector in the world in these times. It has adapted and evolved in such a way on the available technology that all the scholars, faculty, and the student across the world did not feel the existing gap of not being physically connected. The best of mind from all over the world and the institute are helping each other to adopt and evolve without stepping out of from their homes and keeping their lives safe. Our institute also has been enveloped by latest technology, support, supportive tools in academic to help the student and the faculty to learn and the grow. But be it the language lab or the MOOCs course, the institute has always been supportive to it. But the way we have transformed our life during COVID-19 by taking a technological transformation is a really the journey to remember. Trust me, moving from classroom teaching to online teaching was not very easy for our faculty, because the faculty and teacher do not want to come from their comfort zone. They do not want to come from the nest. And but the as I mentioned earlier, it's only the the situation which is creating the way, which is giving you the opportunity, and which is asking to move forward, and that's what we are doing it. So finally, I'm closing my remarks, and today I'm also looking forward to hear from our respected panelists about what their companies have in store for their transformation of the academia, especially in the higher education, on the primary or the school level education. So thank you very much for joining us today on this platform for this discussion on this topic. I also again welcome all my colleagues, those who are present here, and also the participants, those who are patiently listening from us. Thank you very much. Over to Anjali ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Narang Saab. So with this start, I first would like to focus towards Vikas. So Vikas, all this transformation, all the time we are talking about. Now, what do you think are the dimensions and prerequisites for any institution or any group or any function to transform? And what are the elements that we really will need special focus and efforts to have a smooth transformation?
Thanks, Anjali. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. So before I start, Anjali, I would just like to add to what Professor Narang said. I think all the educators on this webinar deserve a huge applause and a huge thank you from all of us for continuing to work the way they could. No one expected that educators who probably have not been as deep in technology as many of the other professions would scale up so quickly and adopt to technology and put in their bit to keep the continuity in education going on. And from there, I would like to talk about the dimensions, which you just mentioned. To my mind, when we talk about a technology-led transformation in education, there are a couple of things which we need to keep in mind. One very important aspect is when we say transformation, then what extent of transformation are we talking about? What's the journey we are going to discuss about? Where would this transformation start? And what the objective of this transformation is going to be? Again, to pick up a leaf from Professor Narang's book, wherein he said technology tools existed all the while. Probably we as a community, we as a society, failed to leverage those technology tools to their full extent. And this crisis has brought forward not only learning for us, also an opportunity to improvise. Now, what exactly means is the technology tools which all the while were there today can be used to transform the world of education in terms of continuity of engagement. So when we talk about education, the first part in education is engagement. How do you keep students engaged? How do you keep teachers engaged? How do you keep them engaged with each other? How do you engage parents? How do you engage administrators? So that's the first dimension, the objective and the stakeholders. How do you bring them together? And how can technology be used for that? That's one. Second, in terms of when we say, again, technology to be used for transforming education, what all aspects of education we want technology to touch? Because even if one aspect of education were to get left behind, it won't be a holistic experience. So what I mean here is, just like technology needs to go into teaching, it needs to go into learning, it also needs to go into operations and governance, the way we govern our institutions, the way we administer education, it also needs to go into operations. So what it entails upon us, the teachers, the students, the parents, the administrators, the non-academic staff, the office staff, all the people who are educated, who are connected to education ecosystem, how are they going to react and how they're going to act? Now, do each of these have that capacity? Do they understand what changes would technology bring into their day-to-day functioning? how would they adopt to that? How do we create an environment wherein they're quickly able to adapt to these changes? What changes would processes require? The process of teaching, the process of learning, what change would it undergo, and how technology is going to impact that? That becomes very important. Thirdly, in terms of technology, there are going to be lots of technology tools around us. You can buy technology free of cost. In open source world, you'll have technology vendors all around us selling beautiful pieces of hardware and software to us. But the point is, what purpose do we want to use the technology? Are we going to use the technology to start with just to ensure continuity? Or do we want to use technology in a fashion that it doesn't last us only while the crisis lasts? It continues to serve us beyond the crisis also. So would technology enable us to go into the new normal? Would it change the way we work, the way we teach, the way we learn, the way we govern institutions forever? So I believe answer lies somewhere in between all this, and especially in terms of making people understand how to use technology, a lot of handholding is required. Handholding is not only in terms of, you need to teach someone how to use a mobile phone or how to use a laptop. Probably everyone associated with the field of academics knows that. It's about how do you harness power of technology with the minimal change into the process of teaching and the process of learning, because teaching and learning traditionally have been a two-way process. If it were to be a one-way process, probably none of us need to step out of our homes. We could have simply used a television channel, we could have used a WhatsApp media. So how do you ensure that technology and process changes do not impact the basic learning experience? They do not impact the basic teaching process. The two-way process continues. The process wherein a student looks up to the teacher, the process wherein teacher goes into what student is actually understanding or not understanding, the process of cohort, wherein students learn not only from the teacher, but from each other, wherein students learn from the experience of being in an institution. How do we use technology to simulate that to the extent possible? Of course, technology can never replace the physical world. So it's about what equilibrium you create between the cyber world and physical world, what kind of cyber physical systems we create for ourselves so that the experience is as near to real world. It's virtual, but as near to real world. With that, I shall take a pause, Anjali, and shall invite any questions, any further comments on this.
Sure. मुझे ना ऐसा लग रहा है विकास, and I'm sure everybody else will also agree. अभी तक जितने लोग, you all have also participated. This change is here to stay now. मुझे नहीं लगता कि, of course, as of now, this might be the only way of imparting education because we can't step out of our homes, we can't get students to the colleges. But once things do get normal, I'm sure we will have to find out a way which is more of a collaboration of or a combination of working in the classroom and through technology, right? Something of this type. A lot of digitalization of things will happen. So that takes me to Prabhat. So Prabhat, digital world supports wherever we are. So digitization is something which we keep talking about, anything and everything. So हमारा बस चलेगा तो हम अपनी thoughts को भी digitize कर देंगे, and we will just keep thinking of digitizing all the time. So some are useful, some are not. So, but in this situation today, do you think the digital space is also reinventing itself? And is this reinventing, if at all, if it is happening, is it going to be of any relevance to beyond IT industry? So if a digitization is relooking at things, if let's say IBM is trying to do something differently, will it be of benefit to various industries, or will it be only for the digital space to benefit from?
So thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anjali. Thank you, Mr. Devender, and thank you.
I am not doctor. I am not doctor. I'm just
Sorry.
Anjali.
Thank you, Anjali, and thank you, Dr. Narang, and my fellow panelists, and the esteemed participants who are there in this WebEx. Within an overnight, the remote working has become a new norm, and organizations across globe are encouraging their staff to work from home in order to prevent their health and safety. And as per studies, 88% of organization has directed their staff to work from home. And being an IBM, we have been working across industry with many organizations to provide them the mobility solution, the infrastructure solution, to provide the business continuity, to work them remotely in securely and safe way. We also have been working to provide a various kind of cognitive solutions, either in terms of cognitive advisors, to provide them a interactive and seamless flow of information. With all these, as you rightly said, the virtual connectivity and extreme automation has become reality. So with this, there are so much of information and the data which is coming, and we need to understand the data. And the data we need to understand, either it is a structured data or an unstructured data, either in terms of communication which we have been making, or WhatsApp, email, Twitter, voice, any kind of data. We need to articulate that data. We need to understand data. Once we understand that data, we need to reason that data. When we say reason, it has to provide a contextual search to that data. And then we have to continuously learn from that data and interact in our native language. So with this, there are so many technologies which are there to support us. The technologies like cloud, cognitive, IoT, blockchain, quantum computing are giving so much of deep insight and building newer and newer use cases. In this pandemic situation, we have been working with various industries across globe and providing them different type of solutions. IBM for this COVID situation is granting access to considerable patent portfolio to the research organizations to help diagnose and prevent coronavirus. Now, in this situation, in various industry, we have been working. And I will just give you an example where how these various industry have been working in this coronavirus in pandemic situation and how this is going to use. In case of agriculture, we have been working in predictive analysis, precision agriculture framework, in which we, with the help of deep agricultural knowledge as well as satellite knowledge, we are building various kind of models to provide the predictive crop and an estimation. So these are the different kind of agriculture advisory which we are providing to the farmers, which helping them in this situation. For in healthcare sector, these we have been supporting with supercomputer, providing to various organizations to work especially on COVID situation to build different type of research, and as well as in the field of cancer, we have an oncology solution where this has been providing, and of course in different scenarios like fraud and banking scenario, the various kind of economists are building those models, and all these can be possible with a remote accessibility and training. We have platforms who have been providing technological training onto these platforms and providing those organizations in different industry to prevent and address all those situations in this scenario. We have been working in logistics industry, especially with various state organizations in this situation, because one of the severe situation we are in with terms of logistics and the supply chain management. And what we are estimating is with this global crisis, with imposition on import and export laws, we may feel this much more severe problem. In order to address those, we have various solutions, as well as we have been working with various state organizations to address and tackle those problems. So these are the different situations in various industry where IBM has been working in India as well as across globe to handle these kind of situations. And I'm sure with help of various technology, either in terms of cloud, where we can build various solutions onto cloud. There are different kind of services which are available. With IoT platform addressing with satellite communication and IoT platform, we can build those solutions, as well as with artificial intelligence and models, the advancement which we have done with IBM Watson platform, we are building those models to do a predictive analysis. It is as in corona cases, we are having a track and trace kind of solution where we can do a predictive situation where this corona cases would be. So I think in this situation, the industries are innovating and building of their own, and they are also building lot of use cases which can help in this kind of situation so that people can work remotely as well as work on an innovative use case. So this is what I think in various scenarios the things has been working on.
Great, sir. Great. So I now turn to Garima. What is your opinion? Is technology or is the digitization really reinventing itself? And how do you think we can use this technology to enable our students, teachers, institutions at large? Now, when I say this, I'm saying this more from, let me just take a minute more when I say this. A lot of teaching is happening, but is this teaching interactive? You know, there are times when parents are coming back saying that we hear the teacher, but we are not able to reply back. Similarly, are the teachers getting that satisfaction of looking at the students while they are learning, and many other such issues? So how is it that the technology or digitization is supporting the parent community, the teachers, the students, the institutions at large?
Thank you, Anjali, and thank you again, for inviting me here, and a warm welcome to all the participants who have joined us today. Thank you for taking out time from Pan India and being a part of this discussion today. So, Anjali, before I answer your question, I'm myself a mother of a boy, 19-year-old boy who is in higher education. So when I was about to think that what are the points that I need to talk, or what are the things that I need to apply to my core education areas, I always look at what my son would like to do, or what I, as an ambitious parent, would like him to do, especially when it's lockdown, he's back home from his university and he's missing his friends, but there's online teaching which is going on. So how effective that teaching is, what are the tools, what are the pedagogies which the faculty is using, whether that's actually useful, and then as a technology company, how are we able to satisfy the needs of today's students and combine it to what they would like to apply tomorrow for their employability? So, something that always, that strikes me from, one of the quotes: tell me and I forget, teach me, I remember, involve me and I learn. That's something that holds true today also. चाहे हम जितने मर्जी हम डिजिटाइजेशन की बात कर लें, चाहे हम जितनी मर्जी लर्निंग एडवांसमेंट की बात कर लें, चाहे जितने मर्जी टूल्स आ जाएं, जो एक ये बेसिक कोर है, ये हमेशा यही रहेगा. So today when we look at Industry 4.0, and I still remember that last year I was working on a document, Vision 2.0 for education within Adobe. With Vision 2020, that was the 2.0 version that we wanted. But उस समय हमने ये नहीं सोचा था कि ये जो vision है, ये actually हमें apply करनी पड़ेगी, in which students will be learning from home, teachers will be teaching from home, institutions, the administrative departments will be going to their respective institutions only for a limited time. So how can we best utilize the technology that is being given to them for their productivity? So, I'll just give you a very general, that's something that I totally believe in, that technology is creating opportunities for teachers, but at the same time, we have to upskill the teachers as well. Students will definitely come online, but how are we innovating it so that they find the entire learning experience joyful, which they are able to apply it? I look at my son, he was undergoing some assignment, and I asked him, I said, have you really understood? He says, nobody is watching me, so it doesn't matter to me, whether I submit or I take help from my friends to submit. And that actually got me thinking that while it is online, how are we actually assessing the students, that whether they are learning it properly, how well are these the learning processes that we are designing today, they are able to submit it, learn, and also apply it. So when you talk about digital today, it's always about the experience. Give your students that experience, and I am sure They will come up in flying colors that you will yourself be amazed that, wow, this is the best use of technology which the students have done today. And Gurpreet is also one of our Adobe creative educators. So when we design anything, the first thing that we want to do is educate the educators on that. I think that's essential. Then educators become our brand ambassadors, our technology ambassadors, to take it forward to the students, and that's where the actual learning begins. And when a student is designing or creating or understanding with the help of that, it has to be something very simple so that they understand. And again, I will repeat the word that I repeated. It has to be joyful, and it has to be something which is long lasting. So I believe that it has to be activity based. I know they will miss out on their friends in the classroom. They miss out on interacting with the teachers, but technology is a wonderful platform which is there today, like the way I'm talking to you. And Anjali, I think you and we are talking to each other almost after 10 years. But, I think, so that's where technology is. It saves out on time. It saves out on effort. Just have a click. You definitely need internet for that, but you're connected and the learning continues. So whether it is, involving students, how you do, what you do it definitely improves communication through effective use of technology. You can collaborate. So whenever we are designing, we have our entire engineering team of Adobe based here in India. We've got 2 big offices where, more than, 5,000 engineers are working on our collaborative tools each and every day. And the basic thing that we come to is, how can students best adopt these tools to collaborate? It has to be teamwork. It has to be something they understand, they add value to it. And of course, given the space that they have, the social distancing, how best they can collaborate, ask questions, use the resources which is available, and foster active discussions. Another thing, which I strongly, would like to point out during today's discussion is, how will we, from a higher education perspective, give them the right technology, the right tools, which enhances visualization and presentations? Because at the end of the day, whatever, they may have the right knowledge, they may have the right skills, the right attitude, but how they communicate, how they collaborate, what is creativity? Creativity is not something that they have to sketch or they have to design something. This is design thinking, which is applicable to any project, any field that they get into. So I always reinforce the point that creativity is that fundamental superpower that every student needs today to be a future workforce leader. I hope I answered your question, Anjali. And
superb, Garima. Yes, I am going to come back to you with this creativity because I know Adobe means creativity. Definitely come back to you for this, but before that, I will go to Gurpreet. So Gurpreet, Garima raised a very, very pertinent point, that is of student engagement. Now, engagement, when we talk of our students and of our teacher, and I might sound like a typical mother who's negative. Oh, I said I should be positive, but then I might sound a little negative. बच्चे आजकल communicate करते कहाँ हैं? They don't. They communicate only with their phones. Their best friend is PUBG or some other games. Now, is there a way by which we can do some kind of gamification of knowledge? Can Google or something else support us in gamification of what is learning and how we can really enhance learning? Because the moment, in fact, I went to one app sometimes back, which was teaching through the games. Frankly speaking, I went off to sleep. मुझे लगा बहुत activity, I can't handle this so much of pressure. वो ball आगे जा ही नहीं रहा था. I don't know why. मेरे से तो नहीं जा रहा था. So I called my daughter. I said, "Do try this." So she said, "आप बुद्धू ही रहोगे." So in one instance, she could do it. But these people find so much of excitement in it. And you give me a graph, and I will probably call Vikas Agarwal. Vikas, please आ जरा मुझे explain करिए graph में है क्या. So that is how I learn. But these kids learn differently. So how can we create gamification over here as a very, very important tool in learning? And that's my question to you.
Yeah, thank you, Anjali, for that question. And you very rightly said that this is the generation Z, which learns, very fast, and everything they have been getting is like super fast on their fingertips, and that is why they probably are much faster at technology also, rather than we people who have left technology way behind us. But yes, you're very right. Somewhere down the line in the adoption of technology, gamification has suddenly taken a big role. If I talk about, even I have been conducting over the past 2 months since the pandemic hit us, suddenly the roles of teachers and educators totally changed, and they had to shift to the online platform, as Professor rightly said in the beginning, that probably higher education institutes were still better prepared for it. You also said they had laptops, right? But schools were
Yeah,
not.
they at least had their laptops, huh?
Yes, exactly.
It was worst in schools
had
because
never
they
thought
don't
about
even have that.
Yes, schools had never ever thought about it, that this will be the situation. And as a tech transformer trainer, if I talk about my experience, if I used to go to schools and I had gone maybe 3 months before, and I had said, please, adapt technology, they would have said, what is the need, right? And 3 months down the line, now I think every school is using technology to the core. They don't have a choice, right? So now, where does gamification actually come into this whole picture is because we are not in constant touch with our students, and we can't see them one-to-one in the classroom, physical classrooms, but we are only engaging with them online. So how do I make my classes more engaging has become very, very important. And gamification can play a big role in that. So obviously, since the students are ready to adopt technology and they are ready for that change. In fact, my daughter is also in her final year college, and she was doing a thesis. So she had made a research and she had sent out that form to students as well as educators. And the response that she got was that the students are ready for the change, but maybe the teachers are not. And there was one question in that where she had said, would you love gamification of learning? And the teacher's response was, yes, we would, but how do we do it? But the students' response was, yes, we would love that if our teachers can take that into the classroom. And I have been taking a lot of trainings for teachers, being a part of Shri Educare. So I am in the training division. In the last 2 months, I have done a lot of training for teachers on gamification of learning, right? And I've been talking about them, about specific tools also, and about the pedagogy that we have to use. So online teaching is very different from, physical teaching. So obviously these tools can definitely help us in engaging our students much better. Yeah, so over to you, Anjali. I hope I've answered your question.
No, I continue with you. मेरे को तुम्हारा question बिल्कुल समझ आ रहा है. But when it comes to gamification, I'll just share my experience.
Right.
In my technology life of about so-called from start till today of about 25 odd years, starting from PC 286 to today, wherever we are.
Right.
I think in my whole life, I must not have played more than 10 games. And every time I started a game, I got addicted to it. Okay. And I used to say, कि यार ये बहुत distractive है, हटाओ इसको. So I would delete the game, and whether it is your any very simple games like your solitaire or whatever. I'm talking of those days when we played. Okay, but what I see today is that these kids can switch on like this from a moment they are playing to the very next moment they get down to their work, and there's a lot of contribution of, I do not know how, but how is artificial intelligence or machine learning contributing to this aspect? I do not know. That is one. Yes. And another thing which really, as an academician, which bothers us is assessment. Is the teaching, is the learning really happening? Exactly. While it is very good that these, these gamification and all these things that you're talking about are engaging the students very well. how do we assess whether the learning is really happening or not? So these two questions I would really want you to answer. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I just said that, of course, gamification is important to engage your students, but you very rightly pointed out the next part of it, that, okay, if the, education is happening, then how do we test that the learning is actually happening? Maybe the teachers are delivering their content online and making it engaging, but how do we make sure as a educator, as a teacher, or as a facilitator, that yes, my students have been able to learn? And that there, I think the role of artificial intelligence and machine learning is playing a big role there. And there are something called adaptive assessments, which is taking a big, turn now. And we are moving more towards personalized learning. So if I ask, we have about more than 1,000 participants right now attending this webinar. So if I ask, everyone to just tell me why they have a different mobile phone, I'm very sure somebody would have an iPhone, somebody would have a Google Pixel, somebody would have Micro, somebody would have some other company brand, right? Samsung. So why, if I ask them the question that why do you have different phones, then everyone would come up with this answer that I have a different need. Probably somebody is looking at a mobile phone as a status symbol, so they would go for iPhones. Somebody would want a very better picture clarity, so they would go in for Samsung maybe. And somebody like me, who's a diehard Google fan, would want seamless integration between the devices, so I would go in for the Google Pixel, right? So we are talking about personalizations to that end, that even my mobile phone and even my shampoos and even my cosmetics to be personalized. But we've forgotten the education industry, and we don't talk about personalization in the education industry. So that is where AI and machine learning can bring about this transformation and bring the personalization into the classroom, and that can again help in making your classrooms more engaging. So if you are making an adaptive assessment for the benefit of those who do not know what exactly adaptive assessment means, I'll just take a minute to explain that. That means if maybe Garima ma'am is a very bright student and she comes onto the platform, then she would be administered high level questions, right? So the HOTS one. And maybe I am a very, average student. I'm not a very bright student. So when I come up to the platform to, assess my performance, I will be given probably the average level questions or below average level questions. So there are a lot of tech companies who are delivering products like this, which are using AI and ML, and that makes the experience of assessment also very, very engaging for the learner. So the learner feels encouraged that, okay, the assessment, they don't run away from assessment that way. And it is more like Garima was pointing out that her son said that, how does it matter whether I've submitted the assessment or somebody else is doing? That is because we have not been able to engage these students according to their level, right? So if we are having adaptive assessments which adapt to the level of the student, then I'm very sure then the experience of learning and assessing will also be a very enjoyable and pleasurable one.
Yeah, so challenges of millennials and the VUCA world. Huh?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gurpreet. I come back to Prabhat now. Prabhat, the technologies and what we are talking about today addresses a lot of large group sessions, and we feel very happy about the fact that we have, like today also, we have about 2,000 people attending this webinar. Is there a way by which we can conduct some smaller sessions, some lab sessions? Is there something that IBM supports or some other technology supports in bringing in a smaller group sessions? Because kya hai na, where I'm coming from, and I'll pick up from what Gurpreet just said. If the test that is administered simultaneously is taking care of diversity in the class, there will be a requirement of addressing diversity as far as teaching is concerned too. So we might have one or two teachers in the class, whereas there will be students who are of whose learning ability might not be the same. So is there a way we can look at some small group sessions while the bigger class is going on or outside the class. Can we look at such sessions also happening?
So very good question. In fact, Gurmeet had explained some part of it which we have been conquering all across, and believe me, how exactly it happens. And I will, before I give answer to your question, I will answer two specific things. One is, nowadays within an organization, let's suppose if I am in some level and if I need to understand which kind of technology I need to go through, so instead of starting from scratch, I will start from the module which is just relevant to me. So that's all being done by artificial intelligence. And in near future, I know in fact the recruitment and all those process will also based on the profile and the knowledge with the relevant topics rather than the complete understanding. So that's a very relevant use cases which we had implemented and have been successfully happening. Coming back to your question, it's very relevant for all of us, has to be relevant and updated, and which requires a continuous learning and upgradation. And with this scenario where we are in, it becomes much more relevant that we need to keep updated ourselves as well as relevant to the specific technology. Now for this, sometimes back IBM has worked on, and instead of generic, what we did is we created a specific role type of the training modules. And when you say role type of training module, like if somebody is expert on security, then instead of doing a gamut of security solutions, he should become a security specialist on one particular cybersecurity content. Or if it is a data science, so instead of complete, he can become a data scientist. And then that depend upon the level starting from a basic to the beginners to intermediate and to an expert. So the complete gamut of the training modules which do the artificial intelligence will build. And that's a platform which we have and which is being leveraged all across globe with lot of institute, universities, organizations to upgrade their skill in these kind of scenario. And I will just like to take a pause and update you how exactly it works. It has two kind of modules. One kind of module is which provides on these technological framework which I said, either it is cognitive, cloud, IoT, quantum computing, blockchain, how can it's being relevant, the basics of those technology, and then comes up to a specific industry specific use cases being developed by the subject matter experts all across globe. So the experts who had been working on those technology and use cases have contributed and built those modules. So it will have three kind of modules. One would be, and it's all blended, like it can have, like as you rightly said, can we make it to a specific set of users? So we can design it in such a way that it could be a specific set of users as well. And then it provides a training on those specific modules. Once it does that, he gets a participatory badge that yes, he did it. And that participatory badge is globally accepted and universally accepted and with a specific organization. And then in order to do that, its theoretical knowledge is always it has to be complemented with a hands-on lab. And it's always required to have a hands-on lab. And earlier we had a limitation of a specific lab where we had a lot of servers and where people can go there and do that. But now what we have done is all these tools and technology, we put it onto a cloud and complemented with an edge technology. With this edge technology and cloud computing and cloud, IBM Cloud, it's very easy to use those hands-on lab through a browser rather than a very large high configuration servers. With this, anybody can access from anywhere, and those labs are specially designed with real-time scenarios, with an open source technology and industry specific, and it provides a deep technological insight on various topics. So if it is a security, it would be a security concern. It also not only about an IBM, it's a generic technological wise as well. And once person, like any student from anywhere, he can do the hands-on as well as the the basic training, he gets a participatory batch. And once he gets a participatory batch, he can further give training and he gets a badge which is clearing badge, and that can be globally accepted. Now, this is one way for the student to look at it, but it always have like there are a lot of experts all across industry. They wanted to contribute in academia. There are so many people who has a deep understanding and they also wanted to contribute. So that platform also provide an interactive session where academician can also give input to those content. And if that being accepted and incorporated into a training module, he also get a badge. That means he is also providing the input to a technology. So those kind of innovations which we are doing all across industry, it's being very well received all across globe, and it's fairly on a cloud model. And this is how exactly we are implementing to these kind of situations.
Sure, that's really, really great. So coming to Garima now, creativity was what I had parked for you to answer towards the later part. So Adobe is really famous for creating a lot of new initiatives and doing a lot many things in this space. How is it that, what is it that Adobe's initiatives in the recent ones are, which are going to benefit our student community a lot? Can you just share a few of them?
Yeah, thanks Anjali for asking that question, quite pertinent to today's times. So even before the lockdown, so one of the things that Adobe strongly believes, of course, as you rightly pointed out, is creativity by virtue of its tools, Creative Cloud. So we strongly believe that, you know, everyone has a story to tell, and students are the best in doing that. So why not create those tools like Photoshop, InDesign, web design tools, video, content creation tools, where students can not only enhance their communication and creativity, but also critical thinking and how they have to, share their learning outcome in the form of projects to the entire world. So one of the things that which we are doing very effectively these days is giving Creative Cloud tools to the students, conducting professional development workshops, which are happening over webinars, and some places we are also doing online sessions for the students as well. We are recently, so we thought that why not put up the entire content on our Adobe Education Exchange, which is a free of cost platform where you have distance learning resources there, and a lot of teachers, a lot of students love visiting them, and we recently collaborated with Khan Academy as well for all the resources. So having the resources, the right tools, and of course, the right platform that we use for enabling digital learning and creativity skills for the students, that's a mission mode project that the entire education team is involved in these days. We have already trained thousands of teachers, I'm sure multiple students are getting impacted through it. And one of the associations that I would really like to highlight today in this session today is our partnership with NeetiIO, where there are more than 10,000 Atal Tinkering Labs. We're getting all the teachers, all the educators of Atal Tinkering Labs online, both on the higher education side, which are Atal Incubation Centers and Atal Tinkering Labs. And we are giving them professional development webinars on how to use tools of Creative Cloud, design thinking, creativity across various tools. So one of the tools which is very popular is Spark, which is a very basic tool. So we start with basics and then we gradually take them on to the next module of Creative Cloud, which is about web applications, video creation, portfolios, presentation, using the tools and applications of Creative Cloud. So that's a mission mode project that we have. I don't think the entire education team is a lot busier than what we were in the usual days when we would actually go to office or personally visit the schools to conduct these face-to-face sessions. And they've been really effective. And I know that we have more than 1,000 participants logged in right now. And I would strongly request and urge all of you to be benefited through all these webinars that we are providing, all the resources that we have on Adobe Education Exchange. And one of the things that I really want to announce today is that very soon, we will be having our Adobe Creative Educator, which is going to be a global program launched in India also very soon. Last year, we had the India chapter launch, and Gurpreet was also awarded one of the Adobe Creative Educator. Now the entire program is going global. We want more and more teachers to come forward, register themselves. This is absolutely free. There'll be a lot of trainings that will happen online, a lot of certifications, a lot of content that we'd like to give, and of course, batches as Adobe Creative Educator. So these are some of the initiatives that we are doing.
Super.
And we want more and more education institutions to be benefited through what we are offering.
So as HR of Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions, I can assure you one thing. We have recently launched our Teacher Training Academy, and we will definitely collaborate with Adobe for our teachers to be certified for Adobe's various initiatives.
Look forward.
A lot of learning will happen. That will be awesome. So we are going to get in touch with all of you practically. So Gurpreet, we are not sparing you either. And Prabhat, we are chasing you too.
Definitely.
Yeah, great. So before I move to some Q&As and some Q&As that have emerged in my mind also, I have one very, very pertinent question for my friend Vikas here. Vikas, transformation, ye, wo, bahut sari badi baatein we have spoken about. एक बड़ा basic challenge है, which is the fact that the students, that community that we have in our colleges, normal timings when they are staying in NCR and studying through online mode, offline mode, good, bad, ugly, they are studying. Okay. Today the problem is, while we were talking, let's take example of this particular webinar. We started with Gurpreet saying that she was having audibility issues. The moment I start a webinar, I remove myself from Wi-Fi and I go to mobile data. Because मुझे डर लगता है कब मैं गिर जाऊंगी, when will I get disconnected from Wi-Fi, I don't know. Okay. So this is when I'm sitting in NCR, when we have those, we do not have such issues. But 90% of our students in our kind of colleges are coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities. So if we are going through so much of problem when it comes to connectivity, when it comes to, technology support per se, how do you think we can really support these people who are sitting in tier 2, tier 3 cities? And I'll just share with you, when we started with our online classes, our attendance used to be much higher. As the classes kept increasing, Dr. Narang will agree with this, the attendance kept falling down because as people switched on more and more to technology, naturally the way we killed the road traffic, yes, with our cars and the numerous cars and scooters and transports modes that we used, we are attacking the technology world also with this excess traffic that we have. So, and because of which the technology today is not sufficiently equipped, especially to students sitting in remote locations. Unka kya karenge? As it is, those poor kids come from places where they need to get a lot of focus, a lot of attention when it comes to teaching them. And with technology not supporting them, I actually am reminded of days where one of my accounts person once upon a time went home somewhere in Bihar, okay, in some Bihar location, remote location of Bihar. So I asked him, why are you not doing this work? He said, ma'am, मैं छत पर जाऊंगा शाम को 5 बजे और उस पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट पे बैठूंगा जहां पर टेक्नोलॉजी, जहां पर नेटवर्क आता है, तो मैं वहीं से बात कर पाऊंगा. अदरवाइज मैं जरा सा भी हिला तो मैं बात नहीं कर सकता. So how do we resolve these issues? And these are multiplying by every day. They are not reducing. Right? So how do we handle these issues? Or some more if you can think of.
Very fair point, Anjali. आप बिल्कुल ठीक बोल रहे हो. बड़ी बड़ी बातों के पीछे छोटे छोटे स्टेप्स लेने पड़ते हैं. और आई थिंक बड़ी बातें करने के लिए इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि हम पहले देखें हमारा अपना एनवायरनमेंट क्या है. So we need to look at our own circumstances as a country, as a community. I work a lot with state governments. I work a lot with education institutions, both in public and private sector, beyond cities, because India is actually living beyond cities. So we don't only have centers of education in urban areas. So you have lots of colleges, lots of higher education institutions, much beyond cities. So we need to take into account what their readiness is, what their challenges are. और अंजलि जो readiness है वो सिर्फ technology की terms में नहीं है. To give you an example, today countries like US and Canada, very advanced economies, are struggling how to give a tablet to a student. They can't afford it. If a US and Canada can't afford to give a tablet to every student, that too I'm talking about college student right now, मैं भी school student की बात ही नहीं कर रहा हूँ उसमें. Can we afford that? Number one. Number two, जैसे आपने बोला network connectivity, ये इशू भी है. बट उससे पहले एक बहुत बड़ा इशू है अंजलि, जो यूनिवर्सिटीज अब्रॉड फेस कर रही हैं, वो इशू हमारे यहाँ भी आएगा. हमारे एजुकेशन में देयर इंस्टीट्यूशंस व्हिच आर फुली सेल्फ फंडेड, जैसे जयपुरिया ग्रुप इंस्टीट्यूशंस, आप लोग सेल्फ फंडेड हैं. You are able to generate enough, I'll say, resources by attracting right kind of students who either have the paying capability or who understand by paying, they're investing in their own future. They are able to raise that funds, and that makes the institution go forward. But today, not every institution in India works on that mode. There are a lot of institutions which depend on state funding. They depend on funding from the federal government or from the state government or even from municipal organizations. There are institutions which depend on funding to various NPOs and NGOs. अब इस करंट माहौल पे स्टूडेंट को हम कह रहे हैं अच्छा क्लास में मत आओ, आप वहीं से पढ़ लेना. इफ इट ऑल आप पढ़ सकते हो, मैं उससे भी आऊंगा, क्यों नहीं पढ़ पाए. बट अगर हमको कह रहे हैं क्लास में मत आओ, so would the paying capability of that student, whatever it was at level X, given कि आपके jobs में problem आ रही है, in the sense income levels are falling down, a lot of people have gone back to their hometowns from where they were actually living temporarily. There's a lot of pressure on the entire economy. So would they continue to pay the same kind of fee which they were paying earlier? तो बोलते हैं मैं तो स्कूल आ ही नहीं रहा हूँ या मैं कॉलेज आ ही नहीं रहा हूँ, मैं उतने पैसे क्यों दूं या मैं कैसे दूं, दोनों क्यों एंड कैसे, both are question over there. तो हम जो बातें कर रहे हैं,
तुमने स्कूल्स की दुखती रग पर हाथ रख दिया है. थैंक यू. थैंक यू.
मैं स्कूल कॉलेज दोनों की बात कर रहा हूँ अंजलि इसमें. सो वो क्यों और कैसे दोनों का सवाल है. मैं क्यों दूं भी है और कैसे दूं, दोनों सवाल है. वी नीड टू बी कॉन्शियस ऑफ दैट. तो हम जो टेक्नोलॉजी की बात कर रहे हैं, टुडे मे बी टेक्नोलॉजी इज अवेलेबल फॉर सम लिमिटेड टाइम thanks to all the corporates, and I think they really deserve a big hand on that. They have opened up their world, they have opened up their proprietary technologies for free of cost. But then that free of cost world shall not prevail forever. So what do we do in the scenario wherein we are short on resources in terms of money, we are short on resources in terms of computing facilities, we are short on resources in terms of end devices, we are short on resources in terms of network. So how do we manage that? That's one. Secondly, the way our spread is, the way education institutions are at this level of maturity. Now, would one solution work for all? Can everyone today use AI/ML? There are institutions जिनके यहाँ कंप्यूटर भी नहीं है, या शायद एक कंप्यूटर है, महीने में एक बार ऑन किया आता है, पेरोल निकालते हैं, कुछ चेक करते हैं, बंद कर देते हैं. So can we talk to them about AI/ML? No, but does that mean should we not talk about AI/ML? No, we need to talk about AI/ML because it has promise, it delivers. So how do we meet to end of, how do we cater to both the ends of spectrum, and institutions and students who lie in between these two ends of spectrums? That's point number 2. Point number 3, Anjali, is something about what we as EY are talking about to businesses, we are talking about to government, we're talking to education institutions, that let's start thinking in terms of now, next and beyond. Because what we need to do now is something which we need to do now, right now. So now is not giving us too much of time. Now is not giving us too much of money, too much of infrastructure. Now essentially means आज हमारे पास जो भी है, जितना भी है, उसको use करते हुए अभी हम क्या कर सकते हैं. So if I need to maintain continuity in education, if I'm talking about transformation, the first transformational aspect is to understand what do I have today, what do we all of us together have today, what's in our wherewithal, without aiming for the moon, staying on the ground, what can we do immediately? If students have got dispersed, teachers have got dispersed, not everyone today has a network connection which is high speed, not everyone has a tablet or a laptop. So can I do something on feature phone itself to start with? Can I start sending SMS to students कि आज शाम तक आप ये 3 चैप्टर पढ़ना और शाम को SMS पे ये 6 क्वेश्चन आएंगे, 30 सेकंड्स में जवाब देना है. And incidentally, we as EY, we tried something like this in state of Maharashtra for polytechnic students. So it was not done for COVID scenario, it was pre-COVID, where we were trying to check efficacy of lectures in polytechnics. And we faced a scenario, not every student who enrolls in a polytechnic has a smartphone, so we couldn't go on a very, very hi-fi technology or something, even having a user interface. We said, fine, no worries. I'll use a SMS server. 6 क्वेश्चन शाम को जाएंगे SMS पे, 30 seconds मिलेंगे, multiple option होंगी, 30 seconds में आप जवाब दोगे. I'll be able to assess. Now I'll apply AI. I'll apply AI here. I will not apply AI for your teaching. I'll apply AI to understand your response pattern. कि अगर response pattern आपका ऐसा चल रहा था, तो आपकी learning कैसी चल रही है? So now essentially means whatever we have today. Now what it means, whatever we have today. One, use of feature phones, remote connectivity. Second, something which we are thinking, we have been talking to various state governments and institutions, and they agree. Can we create a mixed mode to start with? ठीक है, अगर colleges में books पढ़ी हैं, books courier से dispatch कर दो, instruction भेज दो, and then using phone calls, can you check on what they are doing, what not doing? Because today not every student is connected. तो अगर जो connected नहीं है, तो क्या उसकी पढ़ाई नहीं होनी चाहिए? क्या उसको learning नहीं मिलेगी? क्या उसके लिए teaching में disruption आनी चाहिए? So how do we think of that? And another aspect of now is sharing and collaboration. If there are institutions in a geography or institutions in a particular stream, can they share what they have with each other? So let's say if an institution has done very well in terms of creating content which can write on a technology platform, and there is a set of institution which now does not have money or doesn't even have time to create the content, can we encourage that sharing and collaboration? कि ठीक है, आप अपना content share कर दो, maybe they are better teachers, and you can loop in their teachers, their instructors, their faculty to explain content which you have created. So how do you create that share and care mechanism, collaborative mechanism is something which has to be done in terms of now. Also now means जो भी current technology apparatus available हैं. For example, Government of India का free of cost MOOC platform स्वयं. अगर स्वयं है, स्वयं पे क्या हो सकता है? Can we utilize that? Let's start using that. बाकी बात बाद में करेंगे. Maybe अभी उतना पैसा नहीं है, अभी उतना time नहीं है कुछ और करने का. Essentially coming back to now is whatever we have today, let's get going with that. Let's not think क्या करना है. अभी जो अभी क्या करना है immediately, let's do that. That's now. Next is after 3 months, 3 to 6 months or 6 months, when we see a sinusoidal wave, or as EY believe, it's not going to be a S curve, it's not going to be a sinusoidal wave, it's going to be a W. Things will go up, down, up, down, up, down. It will continue for some time. So what that means is the moment we come out of now, our next is the W wave. So in that W wave, how shall we build more resilience? What transformative aspects shall we build in? Meanwhile, let's think about new mechanisms. अगर students college में नहीं आएंगे तो वो उतनी फीस नहीं देंगे या देंगे, उसके लिए क्या हमें regulation change करनी है, क्या हमें law change करना है, क्या हमें कुछ facilities change करनी है? Should we encourage institutions कि थोड़ी real estate कम कर दो, AC का खर्चा कम हो जाएगा, तो उस हिसाब से आप पैसे बचाओ, और या आप share करो, वहाँ पैसे बचेंगे. So that's about next. As a next step, what you do beyond this, after 8 to 10 months, the new normal, and as you said initially, Anjali, certain things would change and go back. A lot of things will not go back to where they were earlier. It's going to be the new normal. The change is going to last. It's going to be lasting change. So if there's going to be lasting change, what lasting transformation shall we bring in? And that lasting transformation has a lot of elements into that, ranging from policy to ground level operations. Now, what all those aspects are going to be essentially shall plug into this transformative journey. This transformative journey cannot be an overnight revolution. It has to be a gradual evolution, and that gradual evolution has to take into account the larger set of people, the larger set of institutions across, as I said, between the at the two ends of the spectrum that we have, and some people who are lying in between those two ends of the spectrum. So this evolution has to touch, has to be inclusive, has to take everyone into account. So while I talk about AI ML, I should also talk about, can I use my feature phone or not? So somewhere in between these two extremes, the evolution will lead to a revolution.
Awesome. You've left me speechless, Vikas. Very nicely put. I think I'm so happy with this answer. So I'm very happy that we had a very fruitful discussion, and it has really brought us to a very different level. और मेरा मन कर रहा है कि ये खत्म ना हो. I'm being very honest that I've really enjoyed doing this program. But all good things also have to end. मैं अभी end कर नहीं रही हूँ लेकिन ना. I have certain questions which I picked up from the people here, and I have identified 3 questions which I want to ask 4 of you to answer. But before that, I want to answer one question on my own, which has come from the panel, from the audience, and that is that there are certain institutions which are even below, as Vikas said, are not able to self-sustain themselves. There is only one computer, or probably there are no computers. Can such institutions not be supported by the IBMs and the Microsofts and such organizations of the world? So I want to answer this on behalf of IBM and on behalf of Microsoft and other such organizations, that these things are already happening. IBMs and Microsoft and your Dell, etc., are extending support to schools which are in need of. What you need to do is apply through the right channel. So please reach out to the question that had come up from the audience. Now I have a few questions which are very which are there with me from the past, and plus some of which have come from this discussion. Sometimes about a year back, we had a leadership conclave. Okay. There, in fact, at that time also, Vikas, we got in touch and we wanted you to come and do a session. Subsequently, we had called one of the founders of the IT education and such IT giants, okay, as a keynote speaker. And you know, the first question that we asked him was, with technology really emerging the way it is in education, are the teachers' job in trouble? So the answer that he gave me was that it is not the teacher's job which is in trouble, but definitely classrooms might be in trouble. So we may or may not really have so much of classroom education, but nobody can take away a teacher's role. But what I see is that there is a complete transformation in the teacher's role per se. So now when the typical image of the teacher that we had with the stick in a hand and wo notebooks, so wo sab to ab khair anyways nahi raha. But how do you see teachers' role evolving in the post-COVID era or the new normal? I have this question both for Vikas and for Prabhat, both of you to answer this question for us. Yes.
So to start with, I can take an opportunity. So, you know, when this technology, this question is not new, and in fact, it's not relating to an education industry. Believe me, like we have been like discussing this for a long time now. Artificial intelligence, new technological initiative, when we say there is a complete automation and artificial intelligence will be into an existence, and there are different use cases which are providing an automation, does this mean that it's eliminating the manpower? So there had been a lot of questions regarding or apprehension regarding like the automation will kill the job. Exactly. Ideally, it is not happening that way. So different type of job profiles are decreasing. The earlier profiles are diminishing and the new profiles are increasing. So there is a lot of technological with the platforms like the platform which we have. Different platforms are getting evolved. The users are getting hooked onto that, getting trained ourselves, and then building those use cases. So earlier we never had a data scientist kind of profile, but now the data scientist profile is the #1 profile all across globe. So different profiles are getting generated, different kind of use case are generated. The shift, there is a paradigm shift which is happening. It's not like the teachers may not require, they will always be required. There's always a blended training. But yes, the way to articulate, the way it has been perceived, the way it will do, it might have a change in that. So that's the logical answer which I would say. And it's not only in education industry, it's in all industry. The roles, the advancement is happening, and that's what industry 4.0 is. If you ask me, like initially from an era of coal engineering to now with the nuclear power plant, the whole industry has revolution in different industry. In financial sector, earlier we used to have this paper and now it is all digitalized. But does it mean that there is no role or there is no job in that industry? Definitely no. So there are different, the roles have changed, but yes, the demands will always remain in all industry. That's what I would have seen.
Great. Vikas, you would want to add something here?
Sure, Anjali. So I agree with Prabhat. I don't think teachers' jobs are going away anywhere because of technology, either pre-COVID, COVID, or post-COVID era, Anjali. To my mind, teachers' job become all the more important in the technology era. So they assume a much more greater relevance, they assume much more higher relevance. And if I were to relate to something which I used to do as a kid, my mother used to be a school teacher. In examination times or even in regular times, she would bring some notebooks and papers to home. She'll correct those papers, she'll do marking, and she'll tell me totaling kar do. So maybe the kind of things totaling kar do, teacher को करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी अब, वो technology कर लेगी, but teacher job कहीं नहीं जाएगा. Because अगर assessment
answer teacher को ही check करना पड़ेगा.
टीचर को करना चाहिए अंजलि, टीचर करने की जरूरत नहीं है, बट करना चाहिए. I'll tell you why. Because today in the technology world, you're going to find so much of content lying around yourself, and something, an expression used in industry, you'll find a lot of content being sprayed onto you from a hose pipe, not from a pipe, from a hose pipe. जो फायर हाइड्रेंट की मोटी पाइप होती है, उससे कंटेंट छिड़केंगे लोग आपके ऊपर, कंपनी छिड़केंगे, लोग छिड़केंगे. Now it's teachers' job to guide students how to navigate through that. What's the content which is relevant? What's the content which is validated? And a teacher now can structure his entire program using online resources. So teacher job does not go away. Teacher job becomes a bit easy in some connotations. Certain things technology will take over. Mundane operational jobs, let's say correcting paper is also possible. Correcting papers or doing totalings. रात को बैठ के टेबल बनाना, किसको कितने मार्क्स मिले हैं, अटेंडेंस शीट बनाना, वो टेक्नोलॉजी अपने आप कर देगी. Now teacher can actually focus on teaching. So the teaching element of teacher's job will increase now. Second, teacher would now need to be more aware, because with lots of information around, just like teachers earlier used to have teaching notes, students have access to teaching notes as well apart from their own notes. So teachers would need to be more aware, teacher would need to be more in-depth to their subject. And something very good which is happening, and which gives a lot of, I'll say, solace to teachers. And I'm talking more about, this is my experience from school education, and I've not tried that in higher education so far, but I'm sure it applies there also. There were a lot of teachers who used to believe that probably if I knew this, if I could study that, I could have taught better. They genuinely want to teach better, but they were a bit, I won't say frightened, apprehensive. Can I say that? Would it expose me to a ridicule? Would it say, "Kya re, isko hi nahi aata?" Now, technology gives you that anonymity. Technology gives you that curtain behind which you learn whatever you want to learn. So teacher job, while it becomes more relevant, it becomes much more sharper. But teacher job also gets much more well equipped. So technology is going to equip a teacher much more better in terms of their own resources, be it for learning or for teaching. And of course, one more aspect which technology will bring in, which shall free up teacher from certain things, कि वो गर्मियों में दोपहर में क्लासरूम में चक्कर मारना, तुम चीटिंग मत करना, लोगों के बीच में खड़े होकर इन्विजिलेशन करना. So probably technology can gradually free up teachers from such mundane tasks also. The online invigilation, online proctoring. So technology is ultimately, to summarize, is not going to take a teacher's job away. It is going to bring a teacher's job at the absolutely right teaching pedestal, taking away mundane operational tasks.
Great. So you mentioned वो जो एक वो आई थी सारा और सोनिया, what was that robot was created. I think many teachers had sleepless nights that day कि अभी आएगी, ऐसे ही कुछ क्रिएट हो जाएगा और हमारी क्लासेस में भी ऐसे ही आके बैठ जाएंगे पढ़ाने.
टीचर के हाथ डंडा खाने का मजा, टीचर के हाथ डंडा खाने का मजा वो रोबोट नहीं दे सकता.
टीचर्स अब मार नहीं सकते, टीचर्स can't hit anymore. I'm sorry I interrupted Garima. Sorry Garima, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Vikas was sharing, that these are the practical problems which started coming once the entire lockdown was announced. Like one of the students, he actually during one of our sessions, told the facilitator, हमारी तो बुक सारी हॉस्टल में रह गई हैं, या हमारे टीचर्स के जो नोट्स थे वो हमें व्हाट्सएप पे आते हैं. How do we ensure कि हम जो notes बना रहे हैं, या how do we? So then, so I would say that technology people like us, we had to reinvent our technology to actually suit the educational needs. So immediately हमने teachers को train करा that when you are sending out anything, from the books or any, that notes that you're referring to, you can actually use Adobe Scan and how to make it simpler for them. And that solved the problem. So actually coming back to your point, teachers will definitely play a very important role. Their role will not diminish in any way. In fact, they are the content creators. So therefore, the tools, be it the videos, and teacher absenteeism was a very big problem in most of the government schools that we are associated. And these technology schools help teachers to record their lectures, to help them to use that same content across multiple platforms, across multiple grades, so that it reaches wider level of students and scale it up. So, coming back to Vikas's point, yes, वो physical एक missing है, where a personal interaction. But if you look at it at a wider scale, if you have to scale up a particular content, teachers can actually use these tools and enhance learning. And now more than ever.
Great. One very important sharing that I have to do as Jaipuria, when we started with our classes, especially in schools, we realized it was just about the start of the session, and we were in that phase where the one session was ending, the other was yet to begin, and the books were not reaching the students, and there was a complete lockdown. In fact, very proudly, I want to share that our teachers, especially our library staff, actually went around downloading a lot of stuff, scanning a lot of stuff from various platforms, and sending it to the students for their learning to go uninterrupted. Really feel very proud of them. Okay, so Garima, back to you.
Anjali ma'am, sorry.
Sir.
You have taken the view of, industry. Let the academic perspective should also come in this, matter. Well, in fact, I also, read this question. Many people have written, while digitalization or the transformation of the technology, will they lose their job? Well, I'll give you one example. We all know we are using this computer from the last so many years, and the Googles, which especially in academics, also termed as a Professor Google, which we are using from last 15-20 years. And if anybody can, want to do a degree from Google, he can do that. That means all the content and the material is available on the Google. But still, people are going to colleges, people are going to schools to learn. Everything is written in the books. For every course, the book is available. But still, person is required a teacher. Why? If books are available, everything is available on the Google, then why teacher is required? Because the written material which is available on the Google or the books cannot convince you. Only the teacher can convince you on the logic, right? And, this is the reason this technology will always, will give you a supplement addition to the teacher, will not substitute the teacher. And in coming, days, what is required? If I ask you as academicians, if I look at teachers, so I'll definitely look at not only that, look at classroom teacher, but I will also look at teacher who can also study, who can also teach the student on the online method, who can also supplement on the various technology. So that skill always I will require in the future. So one teacher cannot escape from this technology advancement or the this education which is come through the edutech. So they should rather go along with this, and that is the requirement in the future. So everybody should prepare it. If you see the institutions, the schools which are going with the technology, they are not find a difficult time in this COVID-19, but those who are traditional universities and colleges and the teachers which are not well versed with this technology, they are find the difficult time this, because they are not able to reach the student, right? So this is the time. In fact, this is, as I said, opportunity, and the scope is there to learn more and more skills of this technology that will help you and that will enrich your career in future.
Awesome Narang Sahab, I think very well put. Very short of time now, but I have a very quick question for Gurpreet before we end. Gurpreet, in one of our earlier programs, somebody spoke of reverse mentoring from the young generation. Can you throw some light on how can we really look at younger generation training our teachers?
Exactly, exactly. In fact, you know, that's a big thing which is taking, you know, the world by storm right now. What I can see as, you know, students are very technology advanced, right? I've been saying that again and again. And if we can equip our students properly to probably take up some projects with government schools also, or with other private schools also, if possible, and train the teachers to adapt technology in their classrooms, that would be a wonderful, wonderful thing. And that is what actually reverse mentoring is all about. So it is not that only teachers can train students, it can be reversed also. The model can be reversed, and the students can actually start training their teachers, and wherever possible, train them about tools that is, you know, it can be a gamification tool, it can be an artificial intelligence tool, it can be a creative. So Garima rightly said that I was one of the proud recipients of Adobe Creative Ambassador badge last year. That was the first batch of ambassadors, and I was proud recipient of that. And I went back to my school and I actually told my students, come on, now you can take this up, you know, and use technologies like Adobe Spark and spark the creativity in the teachers also, right? So if I just can tell you, even my daughter during the COVID times, she has taken up a project, the younger one who's now in grade 11, she's taken up a project and she's partnering with this, you know, NGO called Seva Bharati, and they are doing each one teach one. So they are actually partnering with teachers as well as students of government schools, and they are enabling them to use technology for better understanding of their curriculum and during these difficult times, right? I hope I've been able to answer.
Super. Thank you so much. So I think before I just hand over to Sanandhi and Naren Saab to conclude, I would just want to say, and I'm reading some comments here, people, I want you all to know that nobody can ever take away the position of a teacher. The role can be redefined. People like us, HR ones, will probably rework on their KRAs and KPIs. And like Naren Saab said, when we are interviewing teachers, when we are hiring them, now we will also have to see what all technologies they are comfortable on. But that does not mean that we don't need a teacher in the class. That does not take away the teacher's role from anywhere. At the end of the day, no learning can ever happen without a teacher. The teacher's role needs to be reformed, transformed once again. A lot of unlearning needs to be happening at the teacher's level, and then a relearning needs to happen. But definitely, if we are thinking that the schools can look at reducing the number of teachers because we have all the best of the technologies, that definitely will not happen. Secondly, because of the fact that you can't see the students when you are teaching online, you may not get the same kind of response immediately the way you are getting. Teachers will also look at a lot of emotional strength being built, because many a times you might just get frustrated, koi answer hi nahi aa raha, koi jawab nahi de raha, koi dekh nahi raha, koi sun nahi raha, I don't understand. There is no students who's coming to you and saying, ma'am, ye nahi samajh aaya, can you answer it again and again? So those challenges may definitely be there, but there is definitely a teacher will continue and always be the most important aspect of education in our life. One more key learning that we had today's session was not just knowledge sharing, but even content sharing, which Vikas brought in. Collaboration between institution and educational belts within our areas. That was a very beautiful thought. अभी हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा अपने अपने content को बंद करके रखना चाहते हैं. So this is a time of collaboration instead of competition. Is something that we have to really pick. With this, I would want to keep quiet now. I hand over to Sanandhi with a huge thanks to all the 4 panelists. Narang Saab, thank you for giving me this opportunity to moderate this session. It was really one of the best sessions I attended myself. I really enjoyed every moment of being here. And thank you so much for such a lovely audience that we had. A lot of good questions. Some we have answered, some we have not answered. We will definitely answer them offline. Thank you so much, Sadanandji, Ashwani, Ajay, all of you for being such good behind the scenes support systems. So over to you, Sanandi, Narang Saab, to close the session.
Thank you so much. I would request Dr. Narang to give the closing remarks before I conclude. Sir. Sir, you are not audible.
Narang Saab, you are on mute.
Okay. Thank you very much, Anjali ma'am, to setting the right tone for this subject from the beginning, as well as, taking and, provoking us to ponder on the important issues. And I really thankful to all the, panelists, our esteemed panelists. They have, really, shared their views, which is most relevant on this subject matter. In fact, as Mr. Vikas has, mentioned about the, uses of the technology to the maximum extent without shifting the paradigm of the teaching. Mr. Manocha, they take us the commendable contribution of IBM into the, current scenario, like in, health sectors. And that is really a, is a very good, contributions in this, as Miss Garima, taking us through her own experience and telling us the innovation is the key to binding the student to the online classes. And Ma'am Gurpreet is, take us on the gamification of the knowledge. Though, many of the participants were asking about more detail about on that, but, that is not possible to everything to explain in this. But it's a really a nice, knowledge which we have, created and they discuss for our panelists. For our participants, they in fact have many doubt about on that. But yes, we always, should take it further, because the opportunity which we are having from here to, moving forward with this technology will always give a, a greater satisfaction in the future. So I thanks to all the my, esteemed co-panelists and the faculty colleagues and the Ma'am Anjali. Over to Sanandi.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So thank you, Dr. Narang, for taking us to the journey from zero to the current paradigm of artificial intelligence. I thank Mr. Vikas for taking us to what exactly technology transformation is and the importance of now, for giving us the principle of revolution to evolution. Thank you, Mr. Manocha, for taking us to a very indispensable point of data being the new oil and how well it requires to be articulated and understood in the current scenario. I thank Garima ma'am for taking us to the basic principle that learning must be joyful and reinforcing that students are the workforce of tomorrow and they require to be well trained. Thank you, Gurpreet ma'am, for telling us that how students have gradually got ready to adapt the technology and telling us the importance of adaptive assessment. Gratitude to Anjali ma'am for helping us learn everything step by step that we have learned today, and for being the moderator for the day, and for telling us that how important we the teachers are. Thank you for all the people who are watching us across. I thank all of you, and looking forward to organize a lot such webinars being with you all. Thank you all the panelists. Gratitude to all of you for being with us for the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.